So, you're used to tanking in other MMOs. Well, I might just have the right class for you in that case. The Gunlancer. If you really dislike dodging and showing the boss who's actually boss, this is what you want to play. Let's first generally sum up what the Gunlancer does. You're a utility DPS and not considered a support, yet in daily content like Guardians you can replace the support with a Gunlancer, as they offer a strong shield that can even cleanse debuffs. Besides that shield, you have another vital part of your kit, the taunt. The taunt is able to interrupt most abilities your target is about to cast and make them focus you, which allows your party to dump huge amounts of damage. Besides that, you have debuffs to increase your target's damage taken. For the rest, you have big damage and big shielding. On top of that, you have a huge amount of stagger and destruction in your kit, which makes it much easier to stagger the boss and make stagger checks or destroy parts to increase the damage taken. The playstyle of the Gunlancer is focused around a very short burst window which lasts around 5 seconds and does most of your damage. For the rest, you sit there and hit like a wet noodle, to be honest. The most fun part about the Gunlancer is his shield. It allows you to soak up a lot of damage and ignore mechanics left and right while just sitting there like a madman, where any other class would have to dodge or get out. That's what makes the Gunlancer so unique and fun to play. Very slow but very tanky. The most unique thing though that the Gunlancer has is definitely their back jump. Every class has a dash, which you use with your spacebar, yet the Gunlancer does a small backward jump. At first this is very confusing and takes a lot of time getting used to, but at some point you understand what you can use it for and how to use it properly. Now that you know the basics, let's get into the two playstyles that you can pursue on the Gunlancer. First, I will cover the playstyle I have not chosen myself, the light shield playstyle. If you want to take the tanking and not moving playstyle up to the next level, this is for you. It increases your damage done the more you get hit during your shield. It also increases the damage of so-called normal skills, which are the blue skills. It's a very prog-oriented build since you stack specialties, so you generate more gauge and can sit within your shield much longer than otherwise. I'm not going to talk much more about this since I haven't played it myself. So let's move on to the real fun part, the Lonely Knight playstyle. In a nutshell, the Lonely Knight playstyle increases your crit chance and crit damage of your Binet skills, but consumes your shield gauge double as fast. The Binet skills are the red skills you have for the Gunlancer. This is a very DPS oriented playstyle and pumps nice numbers while giving up survivability. For me, this is what really makes the Gunlancer so much fun. You pretty much have two skills that you mostly focus on during this playstyle to pump insanely high numbers. I'll show you what I mean. To sum up how you play, it's very simple. You wait for your taunt, bash and your 2 damage skills to be available. Taunt, bash and use the 2 skills. Back to hibernation. The damage you do in between those 2 skills is not very high and arguably only used so you don't fall asleep until your burst comes back on. Next, let me tell you how I feel about the Gunlancer. I picked it up around 3 weeks ago and at first it felt very slow and sluggish, but after I got my identity engravings, leveled it up to tier 3, I started to feel really good about it for several reasons. Being on the Gunlancer is forgiving because you are so tanky and don't need to dodge every single attack thrown at you. It's a really comfortable job for blind progression. On top of that, I feel really useful with my shields to help my party survive and mitigate crucial damage. So partly I feel like I'm supporting my group with shields, taunt and decent debuffs, yet during my burst I feel like I am contributing in damage significantly. And that's probably why I personally like it so much. I'm having a bad run, I still offer utility. Yet if I'm playing like a god, I also contribute a lot in damage. It's a good mix of support and DPS is what it feels like to me, which makes it so incredibly useful and fun to play. The big numbers you get to see always make my eyes light up. Now let's give you a small crash course on how to play this job properly. Please note I will only cover the Lonely Knight playstyle. So let's take a look at all the skills. First off is Fire Bullet, probably your most used and spammed skill. It's a very low cooldown skill that has a 50% chance of lowering its own cooldown by 3 seconds. Put a rune on this that gives a chance to reduce all of your cooldowns and you might just get faster into your next burst window again. Dash Up a Fire is a medium long cooldown with medium damage. It additionally increases your attack power for 4 seconds. You use this skill in between your burst to just do additional damage, nothing too fancy. One of your big core skills is Charge Stinger. It's a charged ability that lunges you forward and deals significant damage. This is a huge amount of your kit's damage and has a really long cooldown. You really do not want to miss this. Talking about big damage skills, next up is the Burst Cannon, another very high damage, high cooldown skill that is part of your burst window. Same as mentioned before applies to this skill. Bash is one of your biggest utility skills you have. By hitting this skill, you reduce the target's resistances for 10 seconds and also increase your own damage significantly for 5 seconds. It's pretty much what you use right before your big burst. Now let's cover your two big utility skills. First up we have Hateful Cry, which is a taunt that allows you to interrupt most targets and make them focus you for 5 seconds. But on top of that, you apply another debuff that makes your party members do more damage with front and back attacks. And lastly, we have Nelasia's Energy, which simply is a rate wide shield that depends on your max HP. You can also swap out the second tripod to cleanse debuffs for raids where that is useful. For your last slot available, I have two skills to offer, which is either the Spear Shot, which is simply a charge damage attack, so increasing the damage of your rotation, or the Counter Spear, which simply is a 2-second counter that if you get hit will do damage to the opponent and stagger them significantly. A really useful skill for harder bosses or just blind prog. And lastly, we have the Ultimate, which simply does damage, fills up your gauge completely, but also leaves an aura that decreases damage taken by 40% and negates any negative status effects to whoever is inside of it. Now I will show you really fast how to play this out optimally with your 30-second burst window. The core idea of the Gunlancer is to taunt to apply its debuff, hit bash for your arm buff and more debuffs, and slam away with Stinger and Cannon. Now you are in sleep mode for 20 to 30 seconds depending on your cooldown jewels and RNG on your fireball. Rinse and repeat. Lastly, let's take a look at what engravings you want to run on the Gunlancer. For the Lonely Knight playstyle, you simply want to run Grudge as priority, followed by Supercharge and Guillotine for more frontal attack damage. You also want to focus on critical hit. If you decide to play Light Shield, you can simply run the same but without Supercharge and exchange that for Barricade to increase your damage while you're under your shield and focus on Specialty. And honestly, that's already it. The Gunlancer is an overall very fun and slow class to play. If you want to be a huge tank and utility player, this class is an absolute must-have and on my list of recommendations. You also have a pretty easy time getting accepted into parties simply due to the utility you have on the Gunlancer. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments if you have more questions and if you're going to play Gunlancer on release. Otherwise, I would love it if you could leave a like or subscribe to my channel. That would help me a lot. Lastly, I stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/IamFox, where you can ask me more questions. On that note, until next time, wishing you all a great day wherever you live.